So today I'd like to make a short video about how to make your first Bitcoin transaction and broadcast it on the network. So just to show you that it's not really rocket science. You don't need to really know deeply about Bitcoin. If you know a little bit about Java, maybe you'll understand easily. The language used will be C#. You'll see it will be very simple. So, some link that might help you later on is so the first one is a book that I wrote that is hosted on Gitbook thanks to Adam Fiskor. So basically this book I started to write it in PDF, and then Adam Fiskor ported it into a Gitbook format. So now anyone can contribute to it, and it show you more deep features about NBitcoin basically. So we might come back later on that. Other link is visualstudio.com. So for those who don't know about C# development, if you are using Windows, you can go to visualstudio.com and download the Visual Studio community version, which is free. And you'll be ready to go to follow my screencasts. If you are not on Windows, you can use Xamarin. It works on Mac and on Linux without any problem as well. It's also free, you don't have to pay anything. And the last link is the NBitcoin project. So it's where I host my source code, and you can see the new features that are coming on. But well, we won't need that too much today. And this is the Bitcoin address. So if you like this podcast, I will appreciate some donations. So in this way, I might buy a better microphone. I might buy a better, instead of using Google Hangout, maybe I can use Camtasia or stuff like that. So everything which are sent here will be reinvested for making better podcasts later on. Okay, so if you downloaded Visual Studio, then you will, when you start on this sort of page. So if you are using Xamarin, what I do is very similar to Xamarin. So I let you search. If you have any question, you can ask me directly on Twitter or IRC or whatever, or by mail. But Xamarin is very much similar to Visual Studio, so you won't be lost, I guess, even if you're on Mac or Linux. So I will just create a new project, a new empty project, just a simple console application, the most simple stuff we can do. And Bitcoin first project, let's say, okay. So I create this empty project. When you have created your empty project, your first step will be to reference the NBitcoin framework that I developed. So you right-click on reference, manage NuGet package. So for those who are not familiar with C#, NuGet is a package manager that we're using. And inside it, you just type NBitcoin. So you have several choices. If you are using Mac or Linux, select this package. Okay, it's very important, the NBitcoin mono. If you are using Windows, then please use the top package. Okay, if you are using iOS or Android, for example, you can I think both are fine. In fact, you can use both. Okay, so now I will install the package. So basically, this will download my library in local and then just reference it in my project. Okay. Okay. Good. So now what we'll do is first to put money on a Bitcoin address and then try to spend it to another address. So the way I will do that, so you cannot see me, but I have my phone on my side, and I will be able to send money to an address, and then with this address we'll have the money. We'll see how to programmatically try to recover the fund and send it to another address. So send it back where it came from, for example, or to another address. So in NBitcoin, if you want to create a new private key, you start by doing new key, like that. So right now you see it doesn't find the class, but it's just because you need to add the namespace above. So basically I click on that using, and it added on the top using Bitcoins. So I take my key, and if I want the address of this key, I do key dot public key dot get address. I have a private key, so the key refers to the private key, and if you want to get the Bitcoin address associated to this private key, then you need to derive the public key, and then from the public key derive the address. So the address is a base 58 string, which is very easy to copy and paste and put on a QR code, and that's what most wallet software understands. So a Bitcoin address also has information about the network. So basically, if you are doing some tests, you might develop on the testnet. If not, you are developing on mainnet. So in our case, we'll do a real transaction, on mainnet. So I will want that my address appear as a mainnet address. For running my application, I can just push here. It will put a breakpoint. So my program will stop here and click on start or F5. Okay. So what you see is the address of a key that we just generated. Okay. With C# you can go back also in debug, and you will see that every time I execute this line, it will generate a new address. So the reason why is that every time you do a new key, basically you are creating a random number, and every key has a different address on it. So also what is not very a bit bothersome is that every time you want to show something on the screen, you need to execute the application. It's very time consuming. So what I will show you is a way to execute a line of code easily without compiling again your code. So you can right click on your code when you are in debug mode. You see here it's written debugging. So right click, quick watch, and here I can try to create a new address, a new key, like in my code. Okay. From here I can say public key dot get address network dot main. So basically, you'll see each time I execute this function, then it creates a new address, new Bitcoin address. So in my case, I want to have one address that I will use in this session. So I will create one and save it for later. So I create new keys, my new key, and I want to have it in a format that can be parsed later on, so that I can copy paste somewhere. So the way I'm doing that is that by doing new key dot, I think toString might work. Yes, toString work. So you do network, toString.network main, enter, and this string represents your private key in a copy pastable way. So I will just take it. Okay, I copy that. It's my private key. And so for parsing this private key, you have to create what we call a Bitcoin secret. So a Bitcoin secret is nothing more than a key, than a private key, except that it has one more information. It has a network to which belongs this key. So right now I'm getting my secrets. If I want to get the key like before, for the secret, it's secret dot private key. Very easy. So now, if I run this code, you'll see that each time I run it, I have the same address. You see, 184. If I run again, 1F4. Okay. So basically, I generated a new key. I just saved the base 58 version of it and just report it again now in my program. So my goal now is that I will use this address to send some Bitcoin on it and try to spend it directly and show you how to do that. So in this case, I would just copy paste this address. Okay. I will go on the Blockchain Explorer. So there's lots of Blockchain Explorer. My favorite one is SmartBit. The reason is that they are using NBitcoin, so I'm very proud of it. So I just enter my address here on the address page. Okay, so in the address page, I just click on receive at this point, and here you see there is a sort of QR code that represents my address as a QR code. So right now, I will just send some Bitcoins on it with my smartphone. So one moment. So I'm going on my Bitcoin wallet on my phone. I just take it. Okay, I will send 0.1 Bitcoin. Okay, broadcast, signing, broadcasting. Okay, it's sent in my address. So normally, yeah, oops. Come back. So now, if I go back on my page, you see that I just sent 0.1 Bitcoin to this address. Okay, so it's right now it's unconfirmed, and our goal will be to spend these coins that we just received, right? So the way we will do that. So in any case, we will need our key, okay, for signing the transaction. But we'll make a new Bitcoin transaction, and we'll see we'll reference which coin do we want to spend. So the way you are doing that is by creating a new input. So an input in a transaction represents which coin do you want to spend that are existing right now, okay? And it represents that plus the proof that you possess the coins. So I will create a new input. I will say that the coin that I want to spend is so the coin that I want to spend is represented by the transaction that I just sent. Okay, it's a transaction that is soon confirmed normally. And you see that in this transaction that I just sent, there is two outputs. There is the first one and a second one. The one that we received, so the first one is what we call the change. We'll see later what it means. And the second one is the address that just received the pound. So it's it's the same address as here. So I provided the transaction of the coin I want to spend, and now I must provide the index of the coin I want to spend. It's not the first one in this case, it's the second one, this one. So I will not put 0, I will put 1, because it's what I want to spend. Okay. Then it's a bit of technical details, but for now, just consider you have to do like that, because in a later podcast, I will show you how to make easiest way to sign a transaction. So right now, I said which coin I want to spend, and now in a script sig, I will say which signature, which key of I'm expecting to. So I have my secrets. I get the address. And I take the script. I won't go too deep into the detail right now, but basically what it says that it say in the script sig, it say, okay, I want that you sign with the key of this address, but it's really a technical detail and it will change very fast. So now if I run my program and I show you my transaction, so I open the quick watch. I can do tx.toString, two-time enter. So this is my transaction. Oh, I forgot to add the input to my transaction. So I created the input, but didn't put it in my transaction. So input x. Okay. So basically, okay, it say that I want to spend this coin from the previous transaction one, and this is just saying that which signature we are expecting later. So it's a technique, it's an internal details of NBitcoin, in fact. So then the second part of the transaction I need to say is to which I will send the money and how much. So we call that an output. So to which address I will send, so it's very simple. I will take just the address of my book, okay? So my destination, so I will create an object which represents this address. We call that a Bitcoin address, okay? I will call that destination. I will say that the destination of my output is, so the address of my book, okay? And then I will say how much I want to send. So I don't know if you remember, but I sent 0.0.1 to my previous address of earlier. Okay, I sent 0.1. So I want to send those 0.1 to back to the address of my book. And then I add to my transaction. Okay. The problem if I do that is that there is no fees for miners, so I will take some fees for the mining, so my transaction get finally mined. So I will put Satoshi. I will put maybe for yeah, so 40,000 Satoshi. So I will send minus the fees. And now the only thing I need to do is to sign my transaction with my private key. Okay. So now if I run it, and I check my transaction, you see that there is the input and the output. Wait a moment. So we see our output here, okay, but we are not seeing the signature here. Wait a second, I might be wrong on something here. Let's see. Okay. Okay, I didn't talk. It's sign and false by saying false, but this method of signing is deprecated, so I will show you in a later podcast how to sign correctly. But basically, I just sign here. So now you see that in the input, instead of having the information of just before, we have now the real signatures of the coin that we want to spend. Okay. And in the outputs, we have where we want to send our transaction. So it's not a Bitcoin address, it's a script. I won't go too much into the detail. You can check my book to see more details later. And I'm sending 0.1 Bitcoin minus the fees. Okay. My transaction actually is very good. You can just broadcast it by doing tx.2x and copy and paste that and use some sort of explorer like Bokeh or whatever to broadcast it. But in our case, we want to connect to the Bitcoin network and broadcast it ourselves. So if you want to do that, the way of doing it is you go on a website like Node. Okay, so we'll take a node somewhere that we can find. So whatever. So let's try this node. Okay, we will try to connect to a Bitcoin node in the network and broadcasting their our transaction. Okay, so I take this IP. Sometimes the node doesn't work, so maybe we will need to try another one. So to connect to it, we need to use the node class, import the NBitcoin protocol that is added on top here. So node.connect. This is the address. The network we are connecting it to is network.main. Once we are connected, we must say hello to the node. It's part of the protocol. Then we must tell them that a new transaction needs to be broadcasted. Inventory vector. What's the simplest way? Wait, I think there is a simplest way. Yeah. I will say that I will notify my node that I have a transaction that wants to be broadcasted. And later, I send for real my transaction. So I cannot go too much into the details of the Bitcoin protocol, but basically, what this will do is to broadcast the transaction to the remote node. And when I'm done, then I will sleep a little bit, so it has time to go there. And then I will close my node. I will do disconnect. Let's see what it's doing. So I will run my code. Okay. So I have my transaction that is fully signed. So let's try to get the hash of the transaction. So tx.get hash .toString. Enter. I will copy that for now. Okay, it's a transaction that I just created, and just check if we really broadcasted it. So I'm connecting to the node. Okay, so this node doesn't work, so let's try another one. Let's try another one. Let's try this one. Okay. Okay, connected. No, this one does not accept connection right now. Okay, let's try another one. Normally you should have your own node, so you don't have these kind of problems. You know, you just connect to your own node, and it works fine. Okay. Okay. So now, if I'm right, so the ID of my transaction is this one. This should have been broadcasted on the network. So let's go back on the Block Explorer. Okay, on the address. Refresh the page. It has not been broadcasted. Why? Maybe we can try another node. So this one is the previous one. Maybe we can try another node. Or I just check the lazy part so I don't get too bored by trying multiple nodes. But doing it that way should work correctly normally. But I will just use a blockchain explorer just to broadcast it. It will be easier. So to X, I get my transaction in hexadecimal. I go to a website like broker.io. And here I can go to push transaction. Paste it here. It's possible that maybe I did not sign well, but I think it's okay. I didn't do any mistake. Okay, push to network. So yeah, it has been pushed. So my transaction was okay, I guess. I don't know why, but this node doesn't seem to have broadcasted it. Okay. So now normally we should see it here. Yes. So we see our transaction here. So the reason why it was not broadcasted well here, I guess, is because this node is not well connected, and maybe I've not broadcasted my transaction for whatever reason. So now if I send my transaction, I can just go on the address of my book, and you see that I will have received my money on my book. Well, my book is rich. I get some money here. Okay, so that's all you have to know really for knowing how to broadcast a transaction to the network. It's not very big deal. You just say, what do you want to spend, to who you sign, and that works. And then, yes, you have to broadcast. So you can broadcast by connecting to a node, but so you have to find your own node. So I advise you to have your own private node running, so you can just connect to it and broadcast it as you want. If you don't have your own node, then you can borrow one that you find on internet on Bitnode. And if it doesn't work, you can just try to broadcast through an API. You don't have. It's not really different anyway. Okay, that's all for today, and maybe I do another podcast of better quality next time if you give me some tips. See you.